Let's talk about sort command. But first, let me put some data into this file. So let's say 123 ABC. Okay, anything. So I am putting some random data here. Just save the file, and if we view the content of this file, you can see the content is not sorted. Okay, so to sort them in ascending order, we will use sort space the name of the file and hit enter, and you can see it has been sorted in the ascending order. But if you want to sort them in descending order, you can simply type sort space -r for reverse, and then the name of the file, and you can see here. This way you can sort the content of any file using sort command. So sort and sort space -r for reverse. Now let's move towards our next command, which is zip. So when you want to zip any file or folder, we will use this command. So the format would be zip space the name of the file you want to create space the name of the current file. Okay, so zip space, let's say hacker dot zip space current file name, hit enter. See here on the desktop we have got our hacker.zip file, right? You can check on the terminal as well using ls command, and see zip file will always shown in the red color, whereas the normal file would be in the plain white text. Okay, now if you want to unzip this, we will simply use unzip command and then the name of the file which we want to unzip, hit enter. Okay, it's asking whether you want to replace the current file or you want to rename it. Simply type y and hit enter. See, the file is being created. Okay, now what if you want to unzip this file somewhere else other than the current directory? First of all, let's create a folder, let's say xyz. Okay, now I want to unzip this file inside this folder. In that case, we will use unzip space the name of the file and then the path. Okay, hit enter. Okay, if you want to unzip it inside a folder, we have to use an option called -d, which stands for directory. Hit enter. If you want to check it, just use ls against that folder. See, it worked, right? If you want to view this graphically, just double click on the folder here on the desktop and you can see the file, right? So we have got our file 888 back. So this is how zip and unzip command will work. Let's talk about some more commands. So our next command would be add user. We will use this command in order to create a new account to our Kali. Okay, so to create a new user in Kali, we will use add user, right? So add user space the name of the user account. Let's say it would be Harry 5. Okay, so it's just a name and nothing else. So add user space Harry 5, hit enter. Okay, it will ask for the password, so let's do that. Let's say 111 would be the password. Okay, now it says full name for Harry 5. So Harry 5, hit enter. Room number, leave it blank, again blank, next, hit enter. It says, is this information correct? Yes. Okay, so the user has been created, right? Now suppose you haven't provided the password when you are creating the user. Okay, suppose you have left the password to blank and now you want to assign the password. Okay, so we will use the passwd command for that. So passwd Harry 5, hit enter. It says enter new Unix password. See, as we are logged in from the root user, so it never asks you for the password when you switch to a normal user. As you know, root user is the admin user in Linux which has all the powers. So whenever you logged in with the root user, you will able to see this hash sign. Okay, and whenever you try to log in with a standard user with limited powers, you will see a dollar sign instead of hash, right? So the new password would be 222, hit enter, again 222, hit enter. It says password updated successfully, right? So we have learned about add user and passwd. Now let's see how we can log in to the other user. For example, if you want to switch from one user to another, we will use the su command, that is switch user space followed by the user we want to switch to. Let's say Harry 5, hit enter, and see here Harry 5 @Kali instead of root, right? Also you will able to see the dollar sign here which says the user you have logged in from has limited power in this system. Okay, now each user has its separate directory. For example, for root we have /root, right? So for Harry we have /home Harry. Okay, so cd space /home/Harry 5. Okay, hit enter. Let's do ls, and there's nothing there because we have created a new user, right? And we haven't created any data inside this directory. So the home directory for Harry 5 would be /home/Harry 5, right? And for root it is /root. Okay, so let's switch back to root. See, it asks you for the password because if you are the root user, you will able to log into the standard user without any password. But if you try to log into the root, or if you try to switch to another standard user from one standard user, it will ask for the password. Okay, see, it says authentication failure because I have provided the wrong password here. Okay, so let's do it again. Switch to root and then the password. Okay, see, who am I? We use who am I command just to make sure that from which user we have logged into. Okay, so who am I? Root. So you have learned about add user, passwd, switch user, and who am I. Our next command is exit, to exit the terminal, right? Now let's talk about the chmod command, that is change mode command. Okay, we use this command in order to change the permissions for files and folders. Okay, so change mode followed by the permissions and then the name of the file or folder, right? So first of all, the permissions are divided into three parts. The first one is for admin, second is for group, and third is for others, public. Okay, or you can say normal standard users, right? So the permissions are divided into three parts. The first part is for admin, second is for group, and third is for others. Okay, so the format would be same. Okay, the sequence of the permissions will remain same all the time. Okay, now we have three different permissions. Okay, so R is equal to read, W is equal to write, and X for execute. Okay, so we have three permissions: read, write, and execute, denoted by R, W, and X letters. Okay, so whenever we want to assign permissions based on letters, we will use R, W, and X, but we can also use numbers here. For example, for read we can use 4, for write we may use 2, and for execute we will use 1. So instead of typing RWX, it means whenever you want to assign full permission to any of them, so instead of typing RWX, we can simply use 7, because 4 plus 2 plus 1 is equal to 7, right? The same way, if you want to assign only read and execute permissions to group, we will use read blank execute, or we can type 5 here. Okay, both has same meaning, RWX or 7 and R blank X is equal to 5. And for others, suppose we want to only assign permissions to, let's say, read, and we don't want to assign write and execute permissions, so either we can type R hyphen hyphen, or we can simply type 4, which means read. Okay, so the permissions are divided into three parts. The first part is for admin, second is for group, and third is for others. We can assign read, write, and execute permissions using alphabets like RWX or numbers 4 to 1. Okay, now let's see the practical in the next video. To check the permissions, we will use ls-l. I told you this command in one of our previous lectures. Here you can see, if you count them, these are 10 in total. Okay, so the first place which says D stands for directory. If it was a file, then you will see a blank. Okay, so the first place is D. The rest 9 are divided into three parts: 3, 3, and 3. The first three permissions are for the admin user, which means the user who has created that folder. Okay, I am not talking about root here. Okay, because root is a super user. If you take away all the permissions from the root, still root is able to do read, write, and execute on all the files and folders, as this user is created when we are installing the operating system, right? So I am talking about admin user here. These permissions are for admin user. These permissions are for the group owner. See, group means, suppose I have added 3 people and assigned name group A. Now if I want to provide permissions to group A, that permission will be applied on all the users inside that group. Okay, so instead of assigning separate permissions to each user, I will create a group for them. Okay, and these permissions are for others, which means those who are not admin and not in any group were considered as others. Okay, so if we use letters here, like change mode, if you want to assign permissions to the admin, then we will use U for user, admin user. Okay, so we will use a plus sign when we want to assign permissions, and if we want to take away permissions, we will use minus sign. Okay, that means we are taking back the permissions. So user plus, suppose RWX space. Okay, first let's just create a blank file, let's say temp. Okay, and let's check the permissions for temp. You can see the admin has the read write permission and others has read only permissions. But suppose we want to assign full permissions to all of them, for admin, for group and for others, which means RWX, RWX, RWX. Okay. So if we use letters in order to assign permissions, we have to use U plus RWX and then the name of the file. Okay. Then G plus RWX, that is for group, and at last we will use O for others. So if you want to assign full permissions to all of them, we have to use these commands, right? So if you check, you will see all of them have full permissions over this file. You can see the file colors changes to green. Green means the file is now executable. As soon as we assign the executable permissions to any file, it will change its color to green. So if you want to take back the permissions, you have to do U minus RWX for temp. Okay. Again G minus RWX and then again for others. Right. Now if you check again, you will see there are no permissions whatsoever on this file. Right. So this is the one way. The other way is to use numbers, chmod 777, which means read, write and execute for admin, then the second 7 is for RWX permission for group and the last 7 is for others. So change mode 777 temp. Done. See, it worked, right? So using numbers are easy instead of using letters, right? And if you want to take permissions back, simply type change mode 000, which means no permission to any. Check again and here it is. Okay. So let's change it to the default permissions. So whenever you create a file, you will get 644 as a default permissions for that file. Okay. So what does 644 stand for? It stands for read and write. 6 means 4 plus 2. R is equal to 4, W is equal to 2. So 6 means read write and R means 4, again 4. Right. So this is the easy method to assign the permissions. Right. Okay. So you have learned how to apply permissions to a file. But what if you want to apply that same permission to the folder and you want that all the files and folders inside that folder will be automatically share the same permissions? For example, first let's move to desktop. Okay, and if I do pwd, you can see we are on the desktop of the root. Here if I do ls-l, you will see that we have a folder xyz. Okay, and these are the permissions for that particular folder. Okay, and let's check the data inside this folder. So we have only one file here. So let me create one more file. So touch temp. Okay, and let's just create a folder as well. So abc. Okay, so now we have one folder and two files inside the xyz folder, right? And you can check their permissions as well. By default, the directory have these permissions. Okay, and files have these, right? So let's go one step back. Okay, so this time I will change the permission for this folder. Okay, but later you will come to know that all the data inside this folder, which is these things, all these files and folders will get the same permission which we apply here. Okay, so let's see the practical. chmod -R. R stands for recursive, which means all the data inside a folder, right? So this time we are actually assigning permissions to a folder and its content. And the name, okay, first the permissions, let's say 777, okay. I want to assign full permissions to all the, including admin, group and other users, okay. And at last we have the name of the folder. Hit enter. Let's do ls-l for xyz, and you can see the directory has read write execute permission for admin, read write execute permission for group and read write execute permission for others as well, right? Now let's move inside the folder and let's check the permissions here as well. So you can see all the files changes to green color because the files are now executable, right? See, both files have full permissions, right? So this is how you can assign a permission over the folder and its contents using -R. R stands for recursive. You have learned about basic commands. Now let's talk about some of the basic shortcuts in Linux, okay? So suppose your terminal is full of commands, okay, and you want to clear this. So either we can use clear command or we can use a shortcut which is Ctrl+L, okay. So Ctrl+L is the shortcut for clear, right? Now suppose there is some process going on, okay, and which keeps your system busy, okay, which keeps this terminal busy, and you want to kill that process because it's taking longer than usual. In that case we will use Ctrl+C. So Ctrl+C used to kill the process, right? But instead of killing a process, if you want to stop a process, we can use Ctrl+Z, okay. That way the process will get stopped and will be moved to the background, right? Okay, then we have, suppose you want to copy something in Linux, okay. Let's say you want to copy these words, the files. So just select them and use Ctrl+Shift+C. In Windows we use Ctrl+C, but here in Linux we have to use Ctrl+Shift+C, okay. And to paste it we will use Ctrl+Shift+V. See, right? Because if we use Ctrl+C, it will kill the process instead of copying a content, right? So Ctrl+Shift+C used to copy and V for paste, right? Now suppose you are typing a very long command, okay, a very long command, and you want to move your cursor at the beginning of this command. So you have two options. First one is to use the left side arrow key, okay, just to move at the beginning, right? And again if you want to go to the end, you have to use right arrow key. But we have shortcuts for this as well. We will use Ctrl+A to go to the beginning of the command and Ctrl+E to go to the end of the command, okay. So Ctrl+A to go to the beginning of a command and Ctrl+E to go to the end of the command, right? And there is one more shortcut which is Ctrl+K, okay. So suppose you want to delete last 5 characters of this command. So move your cursor to the 5th one and use Ctrl+K. It will actually cut the data starting from the cursor, right? And if you don't use that data in the future, it will automatically gets deleted, right? So if you want to delete something, just move your cursor, use Ctrl+K and just leave it, okay. The data is been deleted now, right? So these are some of the basic shortcuts. So we have learned about Ctrl+C, to kill a process, right? Control L for clear, Control Z to stop a process, Control A to go to the start of the command, Control E to go to the end, Control K to cut something, some data, some lines, right? And Control Shift C to copy and Control Shift V to paste. Okay. Our next topic is VPN, Virtual Private Network. Now, many people gets confused and think that VPN and proxy are the same thing, right? This is so because both of them will work the same way, but that doesn't mean both are the same thing. See, when we use a proxy server, so we are a user, we first go to proxy server and then we go to the website, okay, which we want to visit, okay. But there is a problem here. Your connection, okay, the tunnel between you and the website is not secured, okay. We use proxy just to protect ourselves from websites because websites track you, right? That's why we use proxy. But the other agencies like your internet service provider or government agencies or a hacker can interfere in your connection and will know that what you are doing here, okay. So that's why we have a concept of VPN. Here in VPN the process is same, but it will use encryption in order to create a secure tunnel, an encrypted tunnel between user and the end website, okay. So VPN uses encryption and will encrypt your tunnel. It will create a personal virtual private tunnel for you, okay. And it is not an easy task to crack an encryption. So it will actually protecting you from government agencies, hackers and your ISP from tracking you, okay. So they were unable to track you if you are using an encrypted secure tunnel. And we all know that we cannot create a personal tunnel for each user physically. That's why its name is virtual private network. It virtually creates a secure encrypted tunnel, right? So this is the basic concept of a VPN. Now let's see how to set up a VPN. Now let's see how we can set up a VPN. Although there are many free and paid VPNs available over the internet, but the one which we are using is completely free and I personally consider that. So first of all, let's open Firefox. Okay, now just open a URL which is vpnbook.com/freevpn. Because vpnbook.com has more than one VPN, both free and paid, okay, but we want the one which is free of cost. Here you can see free open VPN, which is also recommended, okay. So we are going to use open source VPN. Now here you can see many links. You can download any one of these, okay. And one more thing, here at below you will able to see username and password, okay. So you have to check this password and username again and again because password changes at times, right? So first let's download any one of these. Let's say this one, okay. Just save the file. Okay, let's just close it. Now let's open the downloads folder. here you will able to see a zip file. So first of all, select it, then right click and click on extract here. Okay, so here we have got the folder. Now you will able to see 4 different files here. Okay, the first 2 are TCP and the third and fourth is UDP. So TCP and UDP are two different protocols. We use UDP when we try to broadcast any packet. Okay, but for now we will going to use TCP because TCP is a transfer protocol which is actually a connection oriented protocol, right? So it will create a secure connection. Okay, the first step is to create a secure connection from source to destination. So TCP will do it for us. Okay, and then TCP will transfer the data into packets and will also confirm that the package will be delivered safely or not, right? So here you will see TCP 80 and 443. See, you all know that whenever we access a website, it uses a protocol, HTTP protocol, right? So when the website says HTTP, it uses port number 80. Okay, because port number 443 is reserved for HTTPS. S stands for secure. Okay, that doesn't mean the website is secured. It means the data which is transferring is encrypted, right? So we will going to use this file which says TCP 443. Okay, so let's see how to do that. Let's just open terminal here in downloads folder. Simply right click anywhere on this folder and click on open terminal here. Now here you can see we are already inside this folder. Otherwise we have to use command cd/home/kali/download etc. Right? So how to run this file? See, we have to use a command open VPN followed by the name of the file. Okay, so let's just copy the name of this file. Okay, and just paste it here. Okay, let's just remove this. Actually we have to paste whatever is on the clipboard. See, instead of copy and paste, you can also try slowly typing the name of the file and then use the tab button. Okay, the tab key, right? It will auto complete the file name, right? Simply hit enter and now it asks you to provide the username. Okay, so the username is on the website. Okay, so we have to open the website again. Here it is. So VPN book is the username. So let's type VPN book, hit enter, and now let's just type the password. So it would be 9NTAS3C. Hit enter. Okay, now it's actually searching for the server to get connected. Okay, so it says operation not permitted. Okay, let's try this with sudo open VPN followed by the file name. The file name is VPN book TCP 443. Username is VPN book. Hit enter. Authentication password, press tab for no echo. Now 9NTAS3C. Okay, now it says initialization sequence completed. See, now never close this window. Okay, as soon as you close this window, your connection will be disconnected, will be break, okay, from the VPN server. So now you are using a VPN. Okay, now you may visit any website you want using a secure VPN connection, right? But just remember not to close this window until your task gets completed. Okay, so only close it when you want to exit from the VPN, right? So the connection is lost now. So this is how you can use a very simple but free open VPN on Kali. Now before we proceed to the practical, first let's understand how to make a website live on the internet. So we have two important things. The first is domain and the next is server. Okay, so what is domain? See, domain is actually a name, a unique name for your website like abc.com or xyz.org. Okay, and this name would be unique. It will be only one in the world. Although you can take the same name but with different domain or extension like abc.in, right, abc.online, etc., right, but abc.com will be unique. Okay, so this is the domain name, right? Now what is server? See, once you buy the domain name, you have to buy some storage where you want to store the files related to this website, because purchasing the domain will not provide you with the storage. Okay, you cannot get storage free. So we have many servers, okay, web servers, we call them as hosting. So hosting server, we have to buy some space, although there are so many free servers there, but we cannot use them. Okay, because the paid servers will give you better services, faster response rate, security, etc. So here you can store your files. Okay, and each hosting server has its own IP address. Okay, for example like 198 dot something, okay, something like this. Okay, so first you have to buy the domain, then you have to buy the space where you can store your files. Okay, and at last you have to connect them. Okay, you have to connect this IP address with your domain name, right? Because when someone tries to access abc.com, there is a server called DNS server will actually look for this IP. Okay, and will show you the data whatever is stored under this IP. Okay, because this is the IP of the server. So how you can connect this? There are two ways. We can go to the DNS settings inside domain dashboard, and there you will find A type records where you can simply post this IP in that file. Okay, in A records. Okay, and the other way is to use name servers, that is NS. They will be like ns1 dot something .com and dot. See, the last dot is the default one. Okay, so it will actually give us the two name servers, ns1 and ns2. Okay, and then again something.com. So these are the two ways. Either you can use the IP address or the name server, right? Once you connect it and someone tries to access abc.com, see, it is not an easy task to remember the IP address, right? We cannot remember this IP address. It's easy for us humans to remember the names of the websites. That's why domain is important. But remember one thing, domain is always fixed. Okay, but you can change the hosting server whenever you want. Okay, anytime you want, as per your needs, you can change the hosting server, right? So you always access facebook.com, google.com, but how many of you will remember the IP address of them? Like instead of typing google.com, you use their IP address to access that. Okay, not possible, right? That's why domain is important. Okay, and then we have DNS server. The main work of a DNS server is to convert the name you have typed in the URL bar, okay, and then convert it into IP address just to see which IP is associated with this domain, right? And then it will show you the data what is stored on that server. Okay, so this is the work of DNS server. Now this process is used to make a website live on the surface web. I am not talking about dark web. Okay, this is the process of surface web. Now let's talk about the process of dark web. Okay, so in dark web, suppose you have created a website on the surface web and you have some illegal files over there on your hosting server. Okay, so you cannot make your website live, because if you do that, the government will check it for it, government agencies, okay, and the other private companies will look after your website, and then they will add your website in their blacklist, right? So you cannot make your website live if they are containing some of the illegal files. In that case, we have dark web. So in dark web, we can create a website, okay, and instead of purchasing hosting server, we can create our own system, okay, and then convert it into a web server using some softwares like XAMPP, WAMP, etc. Okay, using some softwares we can convert our local machine into a server, and we can host any file we want because we are the owner of this system, right? So we can host illegal files on our system. Okay, and here comes the role of Tor. What Tor will do? Tor will ask you to create a website, convert your system into the server, okay, and then connect it to the internet. Then Tor will take your website and IP address and will assign you some random name for your website. Okay, Tor will assign you like abc.onion, okay, any random name Tor will assign you, and then using that name anyone can visit your website, okay, access your server, right? Tor will do it for you. Now this website is not accessible using Google, Yahoo, Bing, etc. You cannot use normal web browser like Chrome, etc. or Firefox in order to access these websites. That's why people use Tor. So this is the basic of how you can make a website live on the Tor. But remember one thing, this work is totally illegal. So never think of doing this kind of work. So you have learned how to change the IP address. Now let's see how we can change our MAC address. Now you might be thinking that changing IP address will help protect our identity, but that's not true. It cannot protect your identity over the internet completely, because if you failed to change your MAC address, then some websites will record your original MAC address and will keep it. So whenever you try to access that same website with your original IP, the website will know. Okay, so it is very important to change MAC address. Now what is MAC address? MAC stands for Media Access Control Address. It is actually a physical address of any device, okay, like your PC. Okay, so the reality is you cannot change your physical address, right? Okay, this address will be permanent and it will be same all of its time. Okay, but you can change it for some time, okay, for temporary, okay, not permanent. So how to do that? So the process of changing your MAC address temporarily is also known as MAC spoofing. It means fooling your network to be pretend to someone else. Okay, this process is temporary and not permanent. Remember that. So whenever you change your IP address, don't forget to change your MAC address as well. Okay, so let's see how to do this. First of all, let's switch to Kali. Let's check our physical address, that is MAC address, and here you can see it is of 6 octet. Okay, so this one is the original physical address, and now we have to change this. So again we will going to use the same command, ifconfig followed by eth0, okay, that is Ethernet 0, our connection name, and then we have to put down our network first, because your ISP will know two important things. The first one is your IP address and the second is your MAC address. Okay, they will already have your MAC address, right? So first of all we have to put down our connection. This is the very first step. Hit enter. Okay, so we have to use sudo ifconfig Ethernet 0 down. Okay, done. So we have disconnected our internet system from this system. Okay, see it says disconnected, the network connection has been disconnected. So just click on don't show this message again, because we know this. Now the next command would be ifconfig eth0 HW. HW stands for hardware, and then ether means your MAC, and now you will assign anything you want. For example, AB colon BC colon CD colon DE, and then FF, and at last. Okay, just remember one thing, the total of this would be 6 octet. Okay, now again we have to use sudo here, so hit enter. Cannot assign requested address. Okay, so let's change it to something else like this. Done. Okay, so it has accepted this as a MAC address. Okay, let's verify this. So ifconfig. Okay, one more thing, we have put our connection down, so we have to again use up. Okay, so now we will get connected to the internet again. We have to use sudo here, and now let's check it whether it's working or not. See, it worked. Okay, so this would be our new MAC address. Now this is not permanent. As soon as you restart this, your system will automatically get the original MAC address again. Okay, so this process is not permanent. Now there are other ways of doing this as well, like we can use MAC changer for this. So let's see that. Now let's see the other way of changing the MAC. So we will use MAC changer for this. Okay, so MAC changer is a inbuilt tool in Kali. Okay, so it comes pre-built with Kali. Now let's see how to use this. So MAC changer --help. Okay, so if we use MAC changer -v, it will print the version, right? If we use -s, it will show us the MAC address. Okay, S stands for show. There are a lot of options, so let's use some of them. So MAC changer -v, okay, and then eth0. Okay, so here is the version. So let's try -s. So MAC changer -s ETH0. See, we have to assign Ethernet 0 here, otherwise it will fail to detect. So hit enter and you can see that this is our current MAC address, okay, and also this is our permanent MAC address, which means we are not using any kind of software to change our MAC address. Right now we are using the original one. So let's see some other options. So we have tried -v, -s. Now let's try -a for another. It will set random vendor MAC of the same kind. Okay, let's see this. So MAC changer -a ETH0 could not change MAC. Okay, so we have to use sudo ifconfig ETH0 down password for this. Okay, now sudo MAC changer -a ETH0, hit enter. Okay, now you can see this is our current MAC address, this is our permanent, and this one is the new MAC address assigned by MAC changer. Okay, and this is the vendor name. Right, now let's check. See, this could be our current MAC address, okay, which is the temporary, and this one is the permanent MAC. Right, so this is how you can change a MAC address using MAC changer. Let's see what else can we do. So we can also use -r for random, which will set fully random MAC. So let's do that. So -r, sudo MAC changer -r ETH0. Okay, so you can see current MAC, okay, which is this one, then there is permanent MAC, and here is the new MAC. So we have got a random MAC here, okay, that's why vendor is unknown. Now if we use -p, it means reset to original, use permanent hardware MAC address. Okay, it means use the original one, right? So sudo MAC changer -p ETH0, hit enter. We have got our original MAC. Now let's check it. So ifconfig. Okay, so we have to up the connection. So again sudo ifconfig ETH0 up. Let's find out. Okay, so we have got our original physical address back, right? Now here in the MAC changer we have one more option called -m. -m stands for manual mode. It means you are using MAC changer, but you want to assign MAC address of your choice. You don't want to use whatever address given by MAC changer. Okay, in that case you can use -m. So it would be like this: MAC changer -m for manual, and then yours MAC address like we have provided earlier, okay, like this, and then ETH0, right? So you can change MAC both manually and using a tool called MAC changer.